Okay, gotta admit, I've got a weakness for stories about strong women, especially when they're set against a backdrop of extraordinary times.
Yeah,
And this new release, The Bookbinder of Jericho by Pip Williams, well, it seems to check all those boxes for me.
definitely.
We're talking Oxford during World War I. And lucky for us, we've got some fantastic insights from Book Insights to help us with this deep dive.
Awesome.
So ready to take a trip back in time.
Let's do it. This book, it really caught my eye because it takes a place you usually think of as, well, quiet, scholarly.
Yeah.
Exactly, Oxford University,
Yeah.
and throws it right into the whirlwind of World War One.
Wow.
And we get to see this all play out at the Oxford University Press, which becomes like a tiny mirror reflecting these massive changes happening in the world.
Okay, I'm hooked already. So tell me, who is Peggy? What's her story?
So Peggy is a young woman, and she's working as a bookbinder at the press,
Okay.
which back then, as you can imagine, wasn't exactly considered, a typical woman's job.
Yeah, yeah.
And Williams, she uses this detail right away to highlight one of the big themes of the novel,
Hmm.
women stepping up, taking charge during wartime.
It's incredible to think about women like Peggy stepping into these roles, jobs that were traditionally held by men.
Right.
I mean, it really makes you think about how those times, those wartime necessities really kind of shook things up, challenged all those old societal norms.
Oh, absolutely. And, it wasn't just Peggy. I mean, she was surrounded by other women, colleagues, all of them trying to find their place in this new world. And you really start to see how these experiences, what they went through during the war, how it might have planted the seeds for even bigger changes in society later on.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, what was it like for those women when the war ended and they had to, quote unquote, return to normal life?
Fascinating question.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I have to ask, what about the books? I mean, we are talking about a printing press here.
Well, absolutely. And it's not just about the craftsmanship, though that's important. Williams makes you think about the deeper role books played, especially during wartime. They were more than just words on paper. They became sources of comfort, escape,
Right.
even tools for change. Imagine in the middle of all that global conflict, people finding a moment of peace, of strength in the pages of a book.
Wow, that's such a powerful image. It reminds you that even in the darkest times, you can find light, hope in books. But they also had a more, I guess you could say, a more concrete impact, didn't they?
Exactly. They spread new ideas, challenged old ways of thinking. They were fueling those social and political discussions that were happening at the time. It makes you wonder, how did Peggy's work at the press, how did that contribute to those shifts? I think that's something Williams wants us to think about.
It really does make you consider the power of the written word, especially during times of upheaval. Okay, last question for you. For someone who loves beautiful writing, how would you describe Williams's style?
I'd say elegant, but also very accessible. She's got this knack for making history come alive without sacrificing clarity. If you enjoyed the Dictionary of Lost Words, her previous book, you're going to find some familiar themes here, especially those ideas about language and the roles women play.
Sounds like The Bookbinder of Jericho is a really compelling mix of historical detail, strong female characters, and themes that really make you think.
Exactly. And it pushes us to think about how those themes play out even today. Women's empowerment, societal change, why it's so important to understand history. These are all things that still resonate so strongly in our world.
So true. So, as we wrap up our deep dive here, I'm going to leave you with this. What are the things happening in our lives right now, today, that might shape how we view gender roles in the years to come? It's something worth thinking about, don't you think?
That's